corporations now that have dropped DEI. Now, in the government, they did it because he ordered...
Backlash for what?
For too much DEI.
I don't think those people understand what DEI is. DEI is not the hiring of black people who are not qualified or
it can
people
be.
who are... No. That's not what it's about.
It can have that result.
But anything can...
Welcome back, everyone. Today, Bill Maher brought on Don Lemon to his show, the Club Random Podcast, and Bill Maher absolutely annihilated Don Lemon, as you would probably expect Bill Maher to do, or have somebody who is just this ridiculously woke, man. I don't even understand how Bill Maher could tolerate Don Lemon for 2 hours straight on the podcast, but he did it, and there was multiple heated moments inside of this episode today on the club, or in this podcast with Bill Maher's podcast. Let's check it out right now.
Thing. There's a sketch where Tom Hanks puts on a MAGA hat, so he's a Trumper, and then Keenan comes over to shake his hand, and he won't shake his hand.
Yeah.
And I said this on Fareed's show the other day. I found that that's so old. You know, I didn't vote for him. I get all the bad things about that administration, but if you think they don't shake black people's hands, it's just. You're wrong. That's not who they are. Matt Gaetz shakes black people's hands. You know, Kid Rock will shake your hand. It's just not helpful to like think that half the country that's where they are. That's your step.
You're a comedian. You know, it's part of its comedy.
I understand.
But let's be honest. There's a huge faction of the MAGA movement that's really fucking racist.
I wouldn't say huge. No. I'd say partly.
I would say huge.
Yeah, okay. Well, we have different perspectives.
I would say huge. And even if they're not, you have to overlook a lot of that in order to support Donald Trump, which I think is maybe even more egregious than just saying I'm a racist.
So what do you think is the worst? I mean, to me, the back in, was it 89 with the Central Park 5?
Yeah.
That was, to me, like the most egregious thing, because it just seems so like, and then of course the Obama birth certificate, which...
You mean with Donald Trump?
With Trump.
What's the most egregious?
Yeah, I mean, he sued me, Trump did.
For the orangutan thing?
Yes, because I was making fun of that, because that was very racist. But also, like, he seemed to be just, I mean, there was something very animating about his like, just laser-focused drive about the Central Park 5 thing. That seemed to, you could feel the racism in there.
What was the payoff? Why was he there? He was.
How can you just not agree with what Bill Maher is saying here, dude? You know, this leftists are just, I mean, these leftists are just so obnoxious. They're so exhausting. How do they live life like this, man? Like, how do you live life? There's just no way that Don Lemon doesn't know that he's living in such a great delusion overall. Like, how do you not agree with the fact that Matt Gaetz shakes black people's hands? I just don't think it's anyone out there on the right wing who's like, I will refuse to shake a black person's hand. That just sounds ridiculous and dated. Nobody's doing that, man. I don't think that Don Lemon is massively disagreeing with that statement, but he isn't agreeing with it. And if he wasn't, then he wouldn't be, by the way, you know, that he's acting. And they're going to get into the DEI and racism discussion, and it's just going to be pure agony to watch and commentate over this stuff. Because I can tell Bill Maher is someone who I feel like is kind of in search of truth here. He's trying to make his way and understand more, but he's a bit scared because he doesn't want to lose his entire woke audience. But I think at the same time, he's making his way. And Don Lemon is just in complete delusion here. Okay, it doesn't even care like about truth, and I don't understand why. Like, because it's not like he's getting paid massively for this, and I think his podcast and YouTube gets a decent amount of views, but it's not like he's this massive celebrity spreading this message, making a crazy bag off of it, or drawing a massive audience. So I don't know what the motive here is for all of this, but curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please let me know. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. It helps out amazing.
Running for office.
It was right. Yeah. It just seemed like there's something in him. And of course, we know his father was a virulent racist.
Yeah.
You know, and he grew up in a different time, and he's almost 80. And yes, I understand that element to it. But, you know, to ascribe to all the people who voted for him, which is a majority of the country.
I didn't say all the people.
Yeah, I understand.
It's not a majority. It's a plurality.
Well, whatever it is, he won.
Yeah.
It's at least half the country. I mean, to ascribe his worst traits to all of them.
I don't think it's half the country, but go on.
Well,
So ascribe his worst
what
traits
is it?
to whatever.
How do you win an election?
Well,
and the
well, first
popular
it's the
vote.
electorate. Not everybody votes, and I don't think I think most of the people in America don't vote. And I don't think it's half the country. So what I'm saying is, I don't think half the country is racist, and I don't think all of MAGA is racist. But I do think that there's a huge element in the MAGA party that is racist, whether they are conscious of it or not. Some of them are not, and if they are not, they have had to overlook a lot of racism and a lot of bigotry. And if you do that and you say, I'm okay with this, I think that makes you worse than someone who just says, hey, I'm a racist, and they tell you.
But some of it is just a backlash to what they think was going too far, like all these corporations now that have dropped DEI. Now, in the government, they did it because he ordered...
Backlash for what?
For too much DEI.
I don't think those people understand what DEI is. DEI is not the hiring of black people who are not qualified or
it can
people
be.
who are... No. That's not what it's about.
It can have that result.
I'm sorry, I just paused it. Don Lemon's about to say anything can have that result. And if he is, we just, oh man. We can't, if we just give people jobs and give people positions, get people into college who deserve to be there, and whatever position is not going to happen, it's never going to go... We're never going to go back to have black people, white people, Asian people getting jobs they don't deserve. That just sounds delusional, because we'll just be hiring only solely based on who deserves a job. So how the hell could someone get a job they don't deserve when we're only hiring based on who deserves the job? That sounds like a word vomit. Really sorry about that. And who does it? It's very easy and cut and dry for them to get a job they don't deserve it when we're hiring for what color skin you are primarily versus who actually deserves a job, who has the qualifications and the pedigree to get a job. And you get into a certain college, and Don Lemon's right. It's not just about hiring black people. It's also about hiring women. And they don't deserve not getting too many Asian students into Ivy League schools because there's just too many and too high of a concentration of them. What is that? It's just ridiculous, bro. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But it's all about those things. But I just think black people benefit the most from it, certainly. So it's not just about black people in particular. It's just about the fact that people of any skin color are getting jobs and getting positions and getting us into certain colleges that they don't deserve to get into that based on their skin color. And that should just never be happening or be a thing. I don't know why it's such a hard concept or a crazy thing to say. I just thought it was common sense in my brain. And as soon as common sense, and Bill Maher's brain too here, I feel like he's starting to agree. And you guys can let me know what you think about it as well, please.
It could have that result, but there's no evidence that it does have that result. And
I don't know about that.
Okay, so then what is your evidence? There's no evidence that there is that result. If you can show me the evidence, then okay, then I will agree with you.
Well, I'm not going to name any names.
Okay, but
I'll just say
diversity,
that.
equity, inclusion, first of all, is not, maybe they're talking about affirmative action, which is a whole different thing, which is about making sure you hire, a certain number of people that are this, that, and that. But diversity, equity, and inclusion is about making sure that the pool of candidates is larger. So if you are fishing, rather than fishing in a swimming pool, maybe you're in a pond. Rather than fishing in a pond, you're in a lake. Or maybe in a lake instead of a river. Or in a river, you're in the ocean. So you're just trying to find different people, and you're trying to increase the number of options of qualified people that you can hire. It's not about hiring people who are not qualified.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
And who are just black. The biggest recipient of DEI is white women, and also veterans, because of veterans, and also people who are disabled people. It's just about making sure that disabled people have a ramp somewhere at work so that they get to work and they can,
but
whatever.
equity is the word, not equality. That it was a change that people noticed. Equality was everybody gets an equal shot. Equity is like, no, it's basically quotas. Equity is we're going...
It's quotas. I don't think that everybody... America's never been about everybody getting an equal shot.
No, it certainly hasn't been. No one's contesting that.
No.
But that's what the idea, the old school liberal idea was, we need to strive for equality. That changed to equity. This is what some people are against, And reasonable people can disagree on it without being racist. Having said that, there are of course racists in this country. There always will be, just like there will always be criminals.
I agree, but I think the people who are disagreeing about it, they need to understand exactly what it is. I think people who disagree may not understand what it is. Now, I have an issue with DEI because I think when you make it a religion, it's not, then you end up with
Oh, what's really funny? Like Bill Maher and Don Lemon got Bill Maher to agree that America's never been about equal opportunity for everybody. And they're kind of right. Whenever America was first formed, there was slavery and a lot of malicious shit going on, right? Like, but if that's the case, I find it so funny that pretty successful people who have been on television quite a bit, we're talking on a podcast that's going to get, I don't know, probably 500,000 to 1 million views right now. Don Lemon's, saying, he's doing red carpets and interviewing there. I don't follow him that closely, but these are very successful people. And they're both talking and complaining about how America doesn't give you equal opportunity to everyone. That's number one. Number two, if you really hate America that much, it's just so awful and it's so unbearable. Why don't you just leave? Why don't you go somewhere else that does give you better opportunity than America does? Probably because it doesn't fucking exist. It doesn't make sense in my head. So many people who live in America, especially leftists, they just complain, cry, and constantly about how evil America is. And the way I view it is, yeah, there's a lot of things that are unfair about what goes on in America and the globe and in general, and a lot of favoritism and ways you can spin the story, and cheat the system. But if you understand that, and if you understand that there's ways you can cheat the system, get ahead, people get favored in ways, quote unquote, unfair to others, instead of complaining about it and crying about it, why don't you just start to understand the rules, play by the rules, cheat the system, utilize the system in front of you, and use things that give people unfair advantages. And then you could compare and complain just like everyone else, but at least you'd be doing what the people who are smarter and opportunists will be doing, right? I don't even understand. If you want to start making money yourself and have real aspirations and pay less taxes using the same loopholes that they use, then do it. But there's no point just turning around and crying. It's not rocket science. You just keep limiting yourself by constantly telling yourself and constantly protesting and being like, I can't do this, they can't do this. It's just a limiting belief you place on yourself. And, speaking very plainly here, I don't understand why they're doing all this. I feel like everyone has a pretty level head when it comes to this, but at the same time, everyone wants to have that victim mindset, call people racist and bigots, and meanwhile, just people making millions of dollars off of a book, making people feel like a victim, and I just find it hilarious. But please let me know how you feel about this stuff. I'd love to hear your opinions, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Other than that, man, I'll see you in the next one.
Don Lemon got Bill Maher to agree that.
Peace.